Hi Eastside family, I hope you're having a great day and welcome back to the Discover Jesus Challenge. Today we're in chapter 4 of Matthew and this is a great chapter. I'm so excited to get to share it with you today. This is the beginning of Jesus' ministry. We see where Jesus began to call his first disciples. He began to speak to these crowds of people who were so interested in learning more about who he was. But even before that, in the beginning of chapter 4, we see a passage that talks about the temptation of Jesus. Most of you have probably heard sermons on this or devotions. It's a pretty popular part of Jesus' life. Right after he was baptized, it says that Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted. And he was there for 40 days and 40 nights fasting. And it was at that point that Satan came to him and tempted him. And in this passage, we actually see that Satan tempts Jesus 3 different times. I've noticed this passage before, I've seen it before, but this time I really began to look at it a little differently. Growing up, I always thought of temptation as something that, we resist it with willpower. That as Christians, we need to just really have this amazing strength and willpower to resist temptation. But what I see in this passage isn't Jesus just having lots of willpower. It has a lot more to do with what Jesus knows. Let me read a little bit more of this passage. Starting in verse 3, it says, "The tempter came and said to him, 'If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread.' But he answered, 'It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God.'" And Satan tempts him 2 more times. And all 3 of these times, he offers Jesus an easier way, comfort, a way out of suffering, a way out of having to deal with what he is going to have to do, namely Jesus' mission of dying on the cross, that he came to earth to be that sin sacrifice so that we as humanity could stand in righteousness before the throne. It's a huge mission, and Jesus knew what he came to the earth to do. And as Satan tempts him, he gives him these different opportunities to show that he's the Son of God without so much sacrifice, without having to maybe suffer quite as much. And all 3 times, Jesus denies Satan and does not even blink when it comes to accepting these temptations. He is very firm, and he responds very quickly with what he knows. And these are the 2 things that I thought were really interesting. Jesus knows what he came to this earth to do, but he also knows his Father. He knows the heart of his Father. And he knows that his Father would not have sent him to earth to suffer and to die if it wasn't completely worth it. I find this passage really important for us today, not because it's a way for us to look and say, see, Jesus defeated temptation, so we need to defeat temptation. Yes, it's true, we need to resist temptation. But how we do it, I think, is made clear in this passage. It has a lot more to do with what we know. Do we know in our hearts what we are on this earth to do? Do we know in our hearts who we are as children of God? And do we know without a shadow of a doubt our Father in heaven, and that he loves us enough to take us on the perfect path for our life? I know for myself, often temptation comes not in the form of a devil asking me to bow to him, but in the little places of doubt in my life, in the areas where I don't really like the way my life is going, where there's suffering, where there's hardship, things that I wish I could change. And it's at those times that I am faced with the question of, do I really know my Father? Do I really know and trust that He will take me through this, no matter what the suffering is, no matter what the situation, that He has a plan for my life that is worth everything that we have to go through. So I hope today, as you guys are reading, as you're learning more about Jesus, about His ministry and the things that He did while He was on this earth, that you are able to take away from this just a little bit more about His character and a little bit more of a closeness with Jesus and who He is. So I just pray that God blesses you today and that you have an amazing time in the book of Matthew. God bless. Bye-bye.